Now moving on to our powder weathering. This is the final stage of the weathering for this car, and you can see I have 3 colors selected for this project. I have Monroe Models Dark Earth, AIM Products Chalky White, and Monroe Models Dark Rust. These are my favorite 3 colors to use for various rolling stock and locomotives. These 3 colors are my best choices in particular for earth tone weathering, and that's exactly what I need for this particular car. Now, the brushes that we're looking at to use, I have a stubby Citadel brush that I'm going to be using to apply the powders to the trucks and wheels and couplers, and then I have an older Atlas 5.0 brush that I'm going to be using to also do some detailing on the trucks, and of course you can use a micro brush. And it's not just these 2 brushes in particular that I'll use. I'll also use some larger bristle brushes like this, for example, brushes like this. I use a variety of different brushes, but for this particular car, with the simplicity of it, I'm only going to be using these 3 brushes. So let's go ahead and get into this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start by taking some of this dark earth, loading it up onto my bristles and my brush here, and I'm just going to carefully grip the truck like this to secure it, and I'm just going to go in and start carefully applying this powder to the truck. It doesn't take a great deal to get color variation on this, and I'm not going for an insane amount of color variation. I just want this to look relatively dusty. So I'm starting with this color first, and I'm coating the entire truck frame like this. I'm going to go ahead and get some of this into the wheel face as well. And I'm really only worried about the outer wheel face here, but if you really wanted to and you were feeling froggy, you could put this on the inner wheel face as well. That's totally fine, but I'm just starting to work in the dish here like this with a smaller brush. You can use a larger brush for this too, but I do like the control I have with a smaller brush here. Now coming in with an extreme close-up, I'm going to take some of this dark rust and I'm going to put it just above the rotating bearing on the truck. This is an area where you see a lot of rust collect, and I want to achieve this look by just taking my small brush and applying a small little bit of this powder to that area. You can of course go into and just highlight the springs and any other raised details on this truck as well, like this. I'm now going in here with a little bit of chalky white on my brush, and I'm just highlighting some of these areas on the truck with just a little bit of dust. Trucks don't only get grimy, but they also get dusty from road grime, and they'll also get mud, and this white chalk is a great way to achieve that look. I'm going to get just a slight bit of this powder on this bay too and work it up over this kick up to blend everything out a little bit. I'm going horizontal with my brush strokes here to kind of match the kick up spray pattern that's on this, and I'm just blending it out again, and then maybe just working it down just a little bit. I'll start working in these end cages a little bit by just getting some powder into the areas where the kick up is. I want that heavier, more defined color streak coming up from these wheels here. So I'm just taking a little bit of my dark earth powder, going in here, and I'm just going to carefully streak it up like this over all that painted kick up effect on the ends like this. Just for some added color. Just like that. Now I'll go ahead and hit up the coupler box and the coupler. Starting by getting a little bit of this color like that, right on the coupler box, put in the defined streak over the wheels. Just like that. And now I'll come back in with my large brush. And I'm going to hit the entire coupler up with this dark earth first. Even if you don't use any other colors, this dark earth is going to be usually the most common color tone you're going to see on this old rusted metal. It's a very effective, convincing color. And make sure to hit this up at all angles. Couplers rust pretty evenly with the same color. Now what I'll do is I'm just going to hit the top of the coupler in the front with a little bit of this dust. On the prototype it doesn't look like there's too much rust on this coupler, so I'm just going to put a little bit of dust, and I'm going to call that good. Now I'm going to repeat this process for the other end, and that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so after many painstaking hours and detail work done, the car is finally finished. CLSX 501 is complete. I'm very happy with all of the work. The patching came out good, the decaling came out good, a lot of the rust came out really well, and I'm happy with all of this overall. And you can see just the amount of fine detail that's on the sides. When you actually sit back and look at this, it's obvious to you why a video like this takes so long to do. I mean, this is hours upon hours of work right here. This took me weeks to do. And these bigger project cars always do take a lot of time. Thank God there was no graffiti I had to paint on this one, otherwise it probably would have been a whole other video section just alone on graffiti. But we got it done, and I'm really happy with it. I really like the difference in patching between the two sides and the fact that the data is different. If we get a look at the underbody, you guys can see all that really heavy grime and kick-up spray that we did. My signature part on these covered hoppers. It's something I like to really model and capture. And we got the nice dusty, dirty trucks as well, which looks really nice. Again, look at that fine, very fine rust on the top. And in this corner while we're here, someone had actually pointed out in one of the videos that I messed up and I moved the patching slightly over, and it should be, I think, on this rib here. I didn't actually pick up on that until later on, but I actually did screw up that patchwork. I could fix it at this point, but with how much work I've already put into this car at this point, I'm just going to leave it. And I don't really want to have to try to repaint this portion of this car and weather that and blend it in and then mask all this off and then try to patch that and do that. It's just too much work. I'm just not even gonna try. But it is something worth pointing out. Someone did notice my mistake there, and that is a little bit of a disappointment. But what do you do? It's at least it's something there that represents what should be there, I guess. So that's what counts. Anyway, looking at the top. Got all the really nice fine rust work on the roofs. I love the roof walks, how they came out, and I also love the hatches. There's a lot of that really fine rust. I mean, if we really zoom in as close as I can here, look at that. That's just one of the amazing effects you can do with oil paints and fine brushes right there. Look at that. It's crazy, huh? It's beautiful. And looking down the side of the car here, we get to the opposite end. Pretty much the same thing. A lot of heavier concentrated rust around that hatch. Remember how any kind of salt, grain hopper, anything like that, anywhere where any of the load might accumulate, pile up, a lot more of that moisture is going to gather in these areas, and that's why these areas will generally rust a little bit more. And obviously hauling salt or cement or something like that is going to definitely help to quickly deteriorate the paint and the metal underneath. So looking at the end here, something I forgot to add too was the gray outline around that white patch. That was something I missed too, so I went back and painted that on the ends, on both ends, so it looks like bare metal. I just did that with some gray acrylic, and that came out really good. There's all the rust and the heavy kick-up on the interior. There's actually a screw cut in there. I'm not sure how that got in there. Huh, that's interesting. Anyway, I'll get that later, but moving on here, here's the opposite side with all the rust. I really like the rusty ladders. I think that's really weird how these rust worse than the sides. I've never seen another car do that. I'm not sure why they do on these, but it's pretty cool. And then looking at the side here, moving down, you got the difference in the data patch outs. Different lettering right there. Reflective safety striping added. And then a look at the side up top. Real nice. Got all the fine streaks. Very soft work. And if we look at the underbody again, real heavy dark rust on the bottom. Nicely done trucks. Lots of rust. A lot of black kick up too. You can see a lot of the specks from the grease. And of course just the general mud and grime splatter as well. And on this end, pretty much the same thing. All that kick up and everything. I'm telling you, when you do these Exactro cars or any of these highly detailed models, I mean, they look really good when you do some prototype weathering and combine that with all the nice details. I mean, this literally looks like it should be sitting somewhere in real life, somewhere on a siding or on a mainline track or one with a freight train. It looks so realistic. That's what really makes me happy to see when these models come to life. I mean, it's just amazing. So I think you guys can tell I'm really happy with this model. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Alright guys, so that's going to end it for the CLSX 501 weathering video series. I know this one dragged out a little bit, and I apologize for that, but this is kind of what it takes to be able to show all this more complex weathering work and patchwork, decal work, things like that, is these more longer segmented videos where I have to kind of cut and edit things together and stretch the video process out. This takes time, you know. Modeling isn't something you do in a day. A lot of this stuff takes a lot of time, as you can see by this car. But I'm very happy with it, and I'm glad the way it turned out. So hopefully you guys like this video. You guys can keep an eye out for the next one. The next video topic will be custom painting. This is actually a request by another member here on YouTube who asked me how I do my custom painting. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube already about other modelers showing how they custom paint their locomotives or rolling stock. But I'm going to be doing a video showing my particular techniques for locomotive custom painting. So that'll be the next video coming up. It'll actually be covering the CEFX 3142, which is pretty much coming along here, as you can see. So there's a sneak peek. But this is going to be the locomotive that we're going to be custom painting in the next video series, and it should be a 2-3 part video series, so don't worry. Also got some other weathering videos planned. I got some boxcar roof weathering techniques. That's been a very popular request as well, so I got some videos to try to cover some of those techniques as well. In the meantime, subscribe here on YouTube for more. Follow my work on my Facebook and Instagram page, and stay tuned for more. I'll see you in the next video, guys.